About a week ago, at the time of recording this video, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022 released, or as I like to call it, Too Modern to Warfare. In that first week, I played the multiplayer for 55 hours. Needless to say, I'm a little addicted to Call of Duty again, for better or worse, and oh boy, there definitely is some worse. As always, Call of Duty is a bit of a love-hate relationship, so let's talk about that. Hey everyone, Jarek here, and for the last week, this desk, playing on this computer, staring at this computer monitor, has been my entire life. I've literally left my house once, and that was to pay rent. In all fairness, I was starting to feel burnout, so I stockpiled videos and effectively took a vacation. I also ran a major tournament the week before that, and during that entire time, I wore these shirts. I was obviously not getting paid to wear these shirts in my own house or at a tournament, but I really like them. The reason I was wearing these in my house is pretty obvious. They're really soft and really comfortable. The reason I wore them outside is, well, I mean, they look good. These shirts are made by IntoTheAM, and they are currently having a massive Black Friday sale for the next week. 30 to 80% off on their website. And if you use my link, IntoTheAM.com/dragonshirts, you get 10% off on top of that. Let's say you want more than just these shirts. Well, they sell more than that. Say a hat, which I'm not currently wearing because clearly I would never wear a hat in the house. They make tank tops, they make hoodies, they make pants, they make coats. There's a lot more than just shirts on their website. What is consistent though is that they make some incredibly cool designs. Here's a couple of shirts that I just got, and I really like them. So if you want to check out any of these products, the sale is lasting from the 18th to the 25th. If you're watching this video after the 25th, then the 10% still applies. As always, I want to give a huge thanks to IntoTheAM for sponsoring this video. And now let's talk about Too Modern to Warfare. I guess let's start simple, let's talk about the graphics. I actually don't want to harp on this for too long because everyone has already praised the graphics of this game to death, so I will just say that they look really good. Almost too good. There are so many unnecessary details to the guns, and this is pretty awesome. I love attention to detail for this kind of stuff. For a game like this, it just kind of works. With that said, there is a little bit too much smoke and quite a bit more screen shake that I would like. The visual recoil doesn't entirely match what's actually happening in game, and it can definitely throw off your aim. In the most extreme example, the visual recoil is entirely that, just a visual. The X12, the semi-automatic Glock, has literally no actual recoil in the game. It will shoot the same exact pixel on a wall. All that recoil you're seeing is just visual. It's actually something I would like to see them tone down ever so slightly, and also probably give this pistol a little bit of spread. It's kind of insane. But again, these graphics are really good for a Call of Duty game, and it's actually funny to see how this has changed over the years. We went from Call of Duty being the same every single year and looking outdated on launch to this. Yeah, it follows up what Modern Warfare 2019 did graphically, and I cannot complain. Here is where I would usually talk about story, and I guess I have to talk about Call of Duty campaigns here. Or do I? Yeah, no I don't. I hate Call of Duty campaigns. I'm just so uninterested in talking about them that I'll briefly discuss that instead. I feel like I live in some alternate timeline. Everyone's praising Too Modern to Warfare's campaign, and I hate this. I hate it for the same exact reasons I hate every other Call of Duty campaign. I hate it for the same reasons I hate all spunk gargle weebies that took over shooters back in the late 2010s. In fact, I'll just play a clip from a Medal of Honor Warfighter video, and that accurately explains why. Spunk gargle weebie is a subgenre of first-person shooter games. These games are very linear and focused on telling a story or showing spectacular cutscenes, rather than gameplay or challenging the player. Hence, they often have regenerating health and plenty of guides towards the next scene. Oftentimes, these games are extremely easy. The player does not have to perform well to win because the NPC allies win combats on their own, while the player can hardly die at all. Mistakes of the player are not supposed to disturb the flow of the story, since Spunk Gargle Wee-Wees are more focused on linear storytelling than on gameplay. They could also be defined as interactive movies. I get the point is to be an interactive movie, but like, why not just watch a movie? This is barely better than a QuickTime event. The player isn't playing the game, the developer is playing the game, and this gets me so bored and annoyed. I feel so strongly about this that I believe this is objectively bad game design. I feel like this is a first-person shooter campaign for people that don't like first-person shooter campaigns. Saying that out loud sounds like gatekeeping, and I want to make it clear that if you enjoy these campaigns, that's fine. I am happy for you, and I want you to keep enjoying the games you like. I just don't get it. Because something worse than a bad gaming experience is someone telling you what you should and shouldn't enjoy when it comes to your video games that you bought with your own money. One of my followers on Twitter explained why I don't like Call of Duty campaigns in the best way imaginable, so I'll just read this tweet. Call of Duty campaigns are just checklists. Garbage story, characters with no personality other than military dude bro, turret section, on a rail section, breach slow-mo section, stealth mission, American propaganda, explosions, dumb quicktime events. Only need to play one of them to play all of them. And yeah, that accurately describes how I feel about Call of Duty campaigns, and pretty much that entire genre of first-person shooters. I just don't like them. Now, if you have a winning formula, I don't think you need to change. A lot of people will harp on this. A lot of people will say that every game is the same. They have to change it to make it interesting. But this is the internet, and as Bernie Burns put it, the internet demands progress, but hates change. My main complaint is more that every single person that plays a Call of Duty campaign is going to play the same game in the same exact way with no variation or player expression. That's what gets to me, and that's why I hate Call of Duty campaigns. I'm harping on this a lot because I've had a lot of people ask me to cover Call of Duty campaigns, and I'm just not interested at all, so I guess this is my reply to that. Anyway, I'm gonna stop bitching. Let's talk about the multiplayer where I can bitch some more. The multiplayer is pretty similar to that of Modern Warfare 2019. Almost more of the same until you play it a little bit more. There is some distinct differences. One of the first things you'll notice right away is that the weapon unlock progress is a bit different. Now, you will unlock weapons as you level up. However, if there are weapons in a family of weapons, then you need to use certain weapons to unlock that next weapon. For example, this is the AK family in-game. You will need to level up these weapons to a certain level to unlock the next weapon in that line. It's like a family tree. I've seen some people complaining about this, but I like this a lot actually. It adds a little bit of realism to the game, acknowledging what the guns come from, and on top of that, it forces you to use weapons that you may have never actually used. It's a clever way to force a bit of variety into the multiplayer and add a bit of gun realism, so I'm fine with that. As for the actual gunplay, oh man, everything has been buffed to the point where it's just there, just so close to being overpowered, but not quite over that line. So effectively, they're doing the same thing that the original Modern Warfare 2 did, just with a lot less noob tubing. And I do think a few weapons step over the line of being overpowered, the SPR especially. Yeah, this has been the tryhard gun. Everyone that wants to be cool in quickscope because they think that actually takes skill is going to choose the SPR. To make it even worse, by default, it uses iron sights. This thing is so easy to use. I hate it. And for that matter, I hate quickscoping in general. I will die on the hill that quickscoping is not as hard as people try to make it out to be, and it breaks weapon balance. Infinity Ward Call of Duty games always tend to coddle the Call of Duty quickscoper kids, and I've never liked it. Instead, I'll quote another one of my viewers on Twitter: "Snipers are fucking annoying. If anything else is OP, they'll cry and cry, but the false notion that this thing takes skill will make them defend it even when it's ungodly busted." This is the best way I can describe sniping, and especially quickscoping. You don't have to track your opponent, you only need to shoot them once, and it doesn't matter if they shoot first and don't miss, you can still win. It breaks time to kill. On PC, it's quite literally point and click. On console, you have aimbot level aim assist. It's not as hard as people say it is. As a reminder, "It's hard though" is not a valid reason for balance. That's subjective. That is your emotional feeling about quickscoping. That is not the stats behind how fast you can kill someone in game. It's always amusing when someone replies with "get good" when you're talking about quickscoping, implying that quickscoping is hard to them. If quickscoping is hard to you, perhaps you're not as good at the game as you think you are. Aha, see what I did there? I flipped "get good" around on you. Yeah, it's not a valid argument, is it? In the end of the day, if snipers are so strong, the only valid response to them is to choose a sniper yourself, then that's a problem. Other than that, weapon balance is okay. I don't want to say it's perfect. It's definitely been way worse in other Call of Duty games, but it's also been better. I do think battle rifles are a little too strong. They have incredibly fast time to kill, and they just kind of work at any range. I feel most SMGs are utterly useless and just suck, which is unfortunate because I really like using SMGs. The only SMG that I actively want to use is the MP5. The other ones just seem to get tons of hit markers and then you instantly die. And ultimately, that old-fashioned Call of Duty feeling where you hit marker someone 5 times and they turn around and shoot you twice and you instantly die is in full effect here. Much worse than previous games. And I'm not saying that out of, oh, I missed a couple of shots. I mean, you can be perfect and still have that happen. I feel a lot of the weapons are a bit inconsistent. It definitely feels like basic assault rifles and SMGs have their damage drop off a bit too quick, thus resulting in needing to get 5 or 6 shots when other guns only need 2 to 3. Weapon balance is actually great if you're within 10 feet or so, but if you get further away from that, it gets a little dicey. It's not bad enough to where you can't use certain guns in the game, aside from the M16, because that one is just pain, but it certainly can feel inconsistent at times. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the maps, which are incredibly consistent. and I actually don't really care about any of them. With Modern Warfare 2019, I distinctly remember maps that I really like and really hate. Piccadilly was downright awful, but Hackney Yard was awesome and would have been a great map in any Call of Duty game. I wish it came back. Yeah, I don't have that experience in Modern 2 Warfare. There is no map in this game that I genuinely really like. There's only one that I absolutely hate, and that's Tarak. Just big, open, dumb sniper map. Every Call of Duty game needs to have one, and that's this one. I usually back out when it shows up. It's okay if you're playing on hardpoint, but for team deathmatch, it's just torture. And a very similar thing could be said when it comes to border crossing. This map is awful for objectives, but for team deathmatch, it's honestly fine. People really hate this map, but in team deathmatch, it is a basic 3-lane map, and I actually want there to be more of those in this game. As of right now, there's no remakes in the game, which I find to be rather strange, but we do know more are coming. In fact, you can actually see Rust in one of the ground war maps. I don't even think I have any ground war footage. I played it a good amount, but I don't think I saved any games. If you played ground war in Modern Warfare 2019, it's more or less more of that. So if you liked it then, you'll like it now, and it's great that it came back. There is a new mode called Invasion, and this is basically just if ground war was team deathmatch, and like, I don't like this. It pretty much takes every bad element of playing Operation Metro on Battlefield and brings it to this game. Okay, maybe not every bad element. It doesn't have the grenade spam. But yeah, the spawns don't flip, so it just kind of turns into people camping into buildings and people spawn camping, and it's just very boring. Ground War is much better. Other than that, there's actually no other game modes to really talk about. There's a lot of stuff missing. It has the basic 6v6, it has hardpoint and domination and team deathmatch and the stuff you would expect, but Gunfight didn't come back, which makes me really sad because I loved Gunfight in Modern Warfare 2019. And even very basic things were omitted. I guess this is where I have to transition into my complaints about Modern 2 Warfare. Now, I don't want to mention a lot of the small bugs because I'm sure a lot of the small launch bugs will be fixed given time and then we'll forget about them. But there's some pretty big things that should have been there on launch. For example, I don't play hardcore mode, but it's just not in the game. You can play it in private matches, but there's no playlist for hardcore. Why? A lot of people have been complaining about the UI. I don't actually have a problem with the UI itself, but this might just be because I'm using a keyboard and mouse and it's pretty easy to click through. The problem is it's just not functional. I assume I'm just stuck on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I'm watching my latency jump between 0 and 99, or 999.
This server's having a hard this fucking menu. Stop connecting, just let me leave. Okay, there we go.
Let us free.
So slow. I just want to.
I'm already in.
Thank you. This UI is so damn laggy when you're trying to get in between games. To make things even worse, if you're in a party, it will straight up break. If you're in a party and you start searching for a multiplayer game and it just says connecting in the bottom left, your party is broken. You just need to disband your party, make a new one, and then search again. It does this all the time. It's like every other game. And the bigger your party gets, the more of a chance this happens. That is assuming the game doesn't just crash for seemingly no reason. I have a pretty beefed up computer. I'm still running on a 3080 because I'm not buying Nvidia's new 4000 series, why would I? But that's still a pretty good GPU, and the rest of my specs are fine. The game just has a bit of a crashing issue, and the same thing could be said on the PlayStation. I think I have made it a bit more stable by changing the default option to DLSS. It's crashed a lot less by doing this, but still, it crashes a lot. It can't even crash while you're in the menus. It always crashes while you're in-game, which is even more annoying. So yeah, the launch has not been as smooth as I would have wanted. It definitely could be a lot worse, and the game is playable, but they really need to fix these issues. But then there's the other two issues that I'm just so tired of talking about game after game. The first one is aim assist. It is so strong. If you genuinely look at this footage and try to tell me that this isn't basically just aimbot light but for controllers, you're lying to me. And there's no way to turn off crossplay, there's no way to turn on input-based matchmaking so I can only play with keyboard and mouse. You're just gonna have to put up with this. And let me tell you, you will instantly get melted a lot more with this strong aim assist because all they have to do is press L and shoot, and they will perfectly nail you without missing. Now, to be fair, it's nowhere near as big of a deal as it is in Halo Infinite because the time to kill is much faster in this game, but it's still very annoying. As a reminder, tracking your opponent is the hardest part of aiming. When you remove that from the game, you're removing a lot of the skill. And speaking of skill, we have to talk about skill-based matchmaking, and I'm so tired of this. No, to be clear, right up front, multiplayer games do need skill-based matchmaking to some extent, and they've always had skill-based matchmaking. Ever since Halo 2, ever since Call of Duty 4, in some capacity, there has been skill-based matchmaking, but it's never been this strict. Now, I can already hear people in the comments saying, oh, you just want a pub stop, or oh, you just need to get good. Yes, the person that is facing sweaty lobbies because they're above average in skill needs to get better, where they'll get into sweatier lobbies. You're some kind of fucking genius, aren't you? The bigger problem is that it doesn't exactly function like you would assume. On paper, it sounds like you only fight people of your skill level. In execution, that is not what you get. You will have 5 or 6 games where you're just getting stomped on, and then 1 or 2 incredibly easy games stomping on other people that seem to have no thumbs. Then since you got a lot of kills, the game seems to think you're MLG Pro and you go right back up to those sweaty games. Does this look fun to you? Because this is what all of my lobbies look like. To make things even worse, if I'm at a party with my friends who are all worse than me because I've been playing since Call of Duty 4, I'm not the best player in the world, I just have more experience than they do, and they're a lot more casual with gaming. They just want to come home from work and enjoy a Call of Duty game. They can't do that if they join me, because these are the lobbies they get in. I already fundamentally disagree with the idea behind incredibly strict skill-based matchmaking. I think it draws out any casual bit of fun the game had, which Call of Duty is a casual game. Even though it's PvP, it is not meant to be competitive. There are plenty of checks in Call of Duty games to make sure that the skill gap doesn't get too big. I mean, hell, previous Call of Duty games had death streaks. You do too bad, have a free kill. We don't want you feeling bad, even though you're not good at the game. And I have no problem with this. That is the way the game is designed. Not every game needs to be MLG Pro. Esports doesn't need to take over everything. I mean, there is a reason Call of Duty League uses entirely different rules, with some things being banned. Competitive Call of Duty is a wildly different experience and a wildly different feeling. Casual should not be ranked, and it shouldn't be League. Let me try this analogy. You're back in high school. I know it's already terrifying. And you're in math class. Your math class is now a block class. Every day. Every math class is going to be 2.5 hours long. You can only learn for so long in that class before your brain just stops soaking in information. And that effectively is what happens with strict skill-based matchmaking. After playing so many of these sweaty games, your mind just kind of gives up. It doesn't want to be this stressed all the time. In previous multiplayer games, you would have a few hard games where you get stomped, you'd have a few easy games where you do the stomping, and then you'd have a close game that was genuinely exciting. It kept you engaged. Ironically, strict skill-based matchmaking makes the game genuinely not fun for me most of the time. And no amount of getting good is going to fix that problem, because it'll only make it worse. The solution is unironically to tank my KD. To just go into a match and kill myself over and over to get easier lobbies. Do you not see the problem with this? That is counterintuitive to how the system is supposed to work, and I refuse to do that. So yeah, my biggest complaint about this game is 100% skill-based matchmaking again. It's somehow even stricter than it was in Modern Warfare 2019, and it really ruins the fun. Do you remember those casual games you used to have in Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare 2 or whatever, where you would load into a lobby and fight the same people for the next hour, doing casual trash talk and just having a fun time? That doesn't exist anymore. What I will say does exist is the amount of salt you will see while playing Call of Duty. My god, Call of Duty players have never changed. They still don't know how to play the objective. KD doesn't matter in hardpoint, like I try to tell you. Alright, I'm good. Cool. Look at all the kills they got, and they just... Man.
Look at all the kills you got, and look at how high up on the scoreboard.
You know you have to capture the objective to win the game, right? Like, kills aren't going to win you the game.
You got 13 kills. You have 13 kills. You're ass.
Who won?
You're still ass. Your KD is lower than my fucking balls. You fucking shit. Shut the fuck up.
Go to fucking bed. Go to fucking bed.
It's so easy to tell them just by being like, who won? Who won?
Oh, man. I love making Call of Duty players mad. Another really big complaint to have about 2 Modern 2 Warfare are the spawns. They're squad spawns, meaning you're going to spawn on your teammate more often than not, which tells me they haven't played Halo Combat Evolved, because that's a terrible idea. Hell, in Hardpoint, I've spawned on the point before. Other times I've spawned directly in front of the enemy anyway. Spawns are totally unpredictable in this game. They don't flip like they usually would in a Call of Duty game. You can't predict them. The experience ends up feeling more like free-for-all, even in a team mode. What the hell is the point of team deathmatch if they're going to spawn in every direction around me anyway? A smaller issue that doesn't happen often, but when it does, it just shouldn't. Enemies have a red marker over their head, and occasionally you can see it through walls, meaning sometimes they can see you through walls, and this needs to be fixed. And another really big in-game issue is that the perk that is supposed to counter flashbangs and tacticals is just worthless. You are going to be flashbanged so much in this game. Battle Hardened in this game does not make you immune to flashbangs or tacticals, it just reduces their effect. So instead of being flashbanged for 3 seconds, you're flashbanged for 2 or whatever it is. It's still a lot of time to be flashbanged, you're going to die one way or another. This perk is useless. They really need to go back to how it was in previous Call of Duty games, make this perk just ignore tacticals. Because my god, people just throw flashbangs non-stop in this game, because there's no counter to it. The only counter is the trophy system, which is situational, it's on a cooldown, and it's only going to be stationary, you can't take it with you. So yeah, this perk really needs a buff, not just because it's useless, but because it also genuinely affects the game more than it should. So what's my final feelings about 2 Modern 2 Warfare? Well, I'm conflicted, because I genuinely like all of the changes they have made to the gameplay. For example, one of the biggest changes they made is that they removed slide canceling, thank God. Movement as a whole has been toned down. Jump shotting is still rather annoying to deal with, but that's kind of been Call of Duty forever. Personally myself, I would make jump shotting way less accurate, so it's not so prevalent, and that's not the only solution you have. But other than that, I do genuinely like the changes they made to this game. And for the first 4 or 5 days, I was having a hell of a time. I loved it. I was marathoning, I was addicted to this game. And then skill-based matchmaking kicked in, and it started being a lot less fun. And I'm not really interested in arguing with people about whether skill-based matchmaking is good or not, because the people that defend it either aren't good enough to have it affect them, or probably literally don't even play the game. It's like talking to a brick wall, these people are just dumb. But that's Call of Duty players, they're not exactly known for being smart. In a similar vein, one of my friend's names in Call of Duty is Get the Vaccine. His name was eventually reported for being offensive, and he refused to change it. I find this hilarious. Dumb people are just going to continue being loudly dumb. If this offends you, I can't stress enough how much I do not care. So, could I recommend it? I don't know. I think it really depends on who you are. If you're really casual with shooters and probably not that great at them, then skill-based matchmaking is not going to affect you at all, and this game's going to be a lot of fun. If skill-based matchmaking was terrible to you in Model for 2019, then you're going to have the same experience in this one, and I can't say I fully recommend it. What I can say is that if you're still looking for a Call of Duty experience, but you want the old-fashioned Call of Duty experience, I would highly recommend Iron Sight instead. This game is free on Steam. I absolutely love it. I think it's actually my favorite Call of Duty game, even though it's not a Call of Duty game. You don't have to deal with really strong aim assist or strict skill-based matchmaking. It's just Black Ops 2, but with slight quality of life improvements, and I really like it. I don't think 2 Modern 2 Warfare is going to replace Iron Sight for me, despite the fact that Iron Sight has a much smaller player base. You can still find games. I am starting to get to the point where I am just ranting, so I am going to stop, as I have said everything I need to say. I want to give a huge thanks to IntoTheAM for sponsoring this video. Go to intotheam.com/dragonshirts and check out their huge Black Friday sale, 30 to 80% off, and then 10% off if you click the link down below in the video information. I took a break from streaming, but streams are going to come back. Check out my Twitch in the bottom right over there. Those of you that subscribe to my Twitch get to see my videos at least 1 week ahead of time. If I take a break, many more weeks ahead of time. And as always, thank all of you for watching this video.